in Chrome and you go to app.powerbi.com. You click already have an account, sign in, and then you log in with your T-Mobile email and password. Let me say that one more time. Your T-Mobile.com email and password. A lot of the errors that we see is folks using either their master dealer one or maybe your Sprint one. Log in with your T-Mobile email and your NT password. We offer a mobile app as well. Brooke, we're going to get to the MFA process before the end of this. If you still have questions, let me know. So Power BI is available on a mobile app. It's downloadable from the iOS or Android App Store. Same process. Log in with your T-Mobile.com email and password. So now you're into Power BI. What the heck do you do with it? So again, this is a snapshot of Power BI. And on the left, you can see that we have reports for growth and operations and incentives and revenue and pretty much anything you want to know about, it's in Power BI. And you'll find that as we have different focuses and items that we want our stores to focus on, invariably our amazing reporting team will create a report to go along with it. On the right-hand side, you're going to have your filters. So you can change the time period. You can drill down to a specific area. And depending on the report, you can modify those filters to really get the view that you want. And then lastly, we have what's called hierarchy selection. Within T-Mobile, we have two different hierarchies. We have our internal hierarchy, which is our VPs and our market directors and our territory managers. And then we have the external hierarchy that you all are going to create for your own organization. Power BI allows you to toggle back and forth so that you can see the results based on either your own hierarchy or the one that we've designed internally. So it just allows you to get a little bit of a different view of your data. So when we talk about the available reports, again, this is within our branded retail reporting workspace. Again, there's growth, revenue, incentives, operations, forensics, trainings, and audit programs. And then within each of those categories, you'll see that there's a number of reports available. Again, I know a couple of you accepted the challenge. You cannot break it. Please feel free, play around with it. There's a ton of information in here if you choose to use it. Once you're in the report, we talked about those filters, right? So you could filter by time period, by contract type if you have any sub-dealer stores, by region, by market, by district. And again, those filters are going to vary by report depending on the data that you're looking at. Power BI analyzed in Excel. So Power BI is designed to be used as a website or as an app. It's designed to look at the data, analyze it, interpret it, and manage and coach your team accordingly. Some of our dealers prefer to use it in an Excel format. The way that we do that is you use Analyze in Excel. And on the top right of most of all reports is an option that's called Analyze in Excel. It'll download the raw data and it will allow you to create a pivot table. Do not be scared of the pivot table. I have faith in all of you. What you would do is take the data that you want to look at, you would build your pivot. Once you save that report to your desktop, each time you open it, it again will know who you are off dynamic security and will automatically refresh that report. Again, we want you to use Power BI in the way it was intended, to use it as a web-based platform. If you prefer to use Excel and to send the data out to your team that way, Analyze in Excel would be the way to do that. Not all reports are available in Analyze in Excel. For example, some of the ones that involve rankings, because there's formulas involved, those would not be pivotable, that's a word, because there's other formulas behind the scenes. But the majority of our reports are, in fact, able to be analyzed in Excel. We talked a little bit about that hierarchy. So again, most reports will have the ability to toggle between hierarchy, our internal hierarchy, which is created by our T-Mobile leadership, and our dealer hierarchy, which is going to be created by all of you. So a couple tips and tricks to think about with Power BI. As I said, you could be going through Power BI, maybe you have a filter from another page, it just doesn't look right. When in doubt, click a reset to default. It's on the top of every single screen. It'll undo all the filters that you've done across all of your reports, and I'll bring it back to the original state. So despite trying to break it, reset to default will bring it back to where you need it to start from. And most of the time that'll resolve the issues that you're having and restores that original view. Again, we talked about Power BI being used to share and coach and develop your team. So let's say you're in Power BI, you're in a report, you've got your filters and formatting and everything just looks just the way you want it. You can just copy and paste that link and send it to somebody. And they will see exactly what you see. based on their dynamic security settings. You can also download a QR code and send it out that way. And again, they'll be able to see the same report. And then lastly is report update notification. So we talked about how on the East Coast stuff updates a little bit later, right? Rather than having to constantly go in and check to see if your report's been updated, you can actually subscribe to it. And you can either set it up where it'll just tell you the report's been updated, or it'll actually run the report for you and send you a copy. So to have to reduce you having to go and check all the time. And those are all available on the top right of every report. So Veronica has a great question. Are we able to log in, or do we have to wait until August 1st? So ideally, we're going to have to wait to get you into Power BI because you frankly have no sales prior to day one. So that's what we're doing now, is getting you prepared for Power BI, and we're going to help you build your hierarchies so that come day one you are ready and we're not having to work backwards. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into some Power BI commonly used reports. These are the ones that you're going to be accessing the most. Again, there's a ton of reporting in here, but these are the ones that you're really going to want to make sure you carve out some time to look at. So first we have the Big Five. And the Big Five is just that. It's 5 metrics that our senior leadership has identified that if you're good at these 5 things, your store is successful and profitable. So those are postpaid activation conversion, phones sold with accessories, TFB, which is T-Mobile for Business, participation, SME, which is Score for Mobile Expert. It's a customer experience metric. And then customer welcome, or check-in percentage of all transactions. How often are we greeting a customer and checking them into our system? So those are the 5 things that we measure. Below that, you'll see that, and we jokingly say the Big Five is kind of the Big 12, because there's a couple of metrics that drive those Big Five. But the idea is that you can look at these results and really understand who are your performers, who are your opportunity stores, and what behaviors do you need to change within those stores in order to get them to improve on the Big Five. Then we have a Big Five ranker, right? Because what's a sales company without a ranker? So with those Big Five results, our reporting team has put together a ranker to show kind of what our best stores are. You can filter this by store, you can filter this by district, by territory, and by master dealer. To be clear, you won't be able to see other master dealers, but you will be able to see where you rank accordingly to understand if you're kind of top of the pack or maybe have some opportunity. These are available in our branded retail reporting analytics workspace. You do need to link out, though, to another page. It's so much data that they needed to move it into an adjacent workspace, so you would just follow the flow here, or for your convenience, there is a QR code available for you. And for those of you that are trying to scan it now, as I said, your stores aren't loaded yet. Dealer sort in Power BI. You'll hear the term sort, dealer sort, or DORT. Dealer sort is what's used by typically our store leaders. It provides just a quick snapshot of how the store is performing. It allows the store manager to say, my postpaid is good, but my accessories are down, right? Just a quick snapshot of what they need to focus on. Currently, that system lives in a separate website. Our reporting team is working super hard to bring that experience into Power BI, so it'll be a more robust experience. It'll have the same dynamic security rules, and it'll just be a more seamless transition between the two systems. So by the time we get to day one, this should be available to you in Power BI as well, and has these great dials so you can really quickly understand how a particular store is performing. So I've mentioned the term dynamic security a couple of times. I want to just explain to you kind of what that means. So Power BI basically means the title you have dictates what you see. So for example, an assistant store manager or store manager, when they log into Power BI, see their store. No more, no less, which makes sense. We want our stores to focus on what's happening in their store. We don't want them getting bogged down on what's happening 3 states away. We have our market managers, which are assigned to districts. If they're assigned to a district, they see the district to which they're assigned. If for whatever reason they're a market manager and they're not assigned to a district, they will see all the stores in the region to which their code is assigned. We have a title called sub-dealer operator. That's for our independently owned store locations. They will also see just the store to which their code is assigned. Our back office and principals, those folks are who we're going to assign to our regions, our larger sales areas, and they would be assigned to a region. If they're not assigned, they would see all stores in the partner entity. And then our operations directors and trainers don't get assigned to anything. They just automatically have access to the entire TPR dealer entity. Really important as we talk about hierarchy, we will help you with these regions and these markets. If you do want to make a change to your assistant store managers or store managers, that is not done through us. That is done through the employee provisioning portal. And I'm sure you've all received invites from Marion Richardson as part of dealer operations as well. She handles that portal. So just be mindful of that we don't make any store level changes through this site. And there is no Power BI access available for our TPR mobile experts, our sales reps, because again, we don't want them getting bogged down in sales performance. We want them to focus on selling, and we want their leaders to focus on coaching and developing them. So I mentioned before, dynamic security doesn't always work for everybody. So let's say you have a store manager who's doing a stretch assignment and needs to oversee 2 stores. Or you have a market manager who's temporarily overseeing another district because someone's out on leave. Or you have a sub-dealer operator who owns multiple locations and wants to see how all the locations that he owns is performing. We do have an exception process available. It's a very simple form that the dealer leader fills out, sends over to our team, and we upload it into a SharePoint for you. It goes into effect the next day. We can either make it a permanent change or we can set an end date. So in the case of a market manager where it's only maybe a 30-day time period, or an RSM who's doing a 90-day stretch assignment, we can set an end date for it, and then it will go back to the regular view. And as I said, those are submitted directly to us. It only changes the views in Power BI. It doesn't change views in any other reports. So we talked a lot about dealer hierarchy. So in order to effectively use Power BI and Dealer Sort, a dealer hierarchy must be created. And it's going to be created by you all on this call. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you out a list of all of your stores, and we're going to ask you to group your stores into regions and districts. So the largest area is a region, and you can call it whatever you want. It can be called West, it can be called North, it can be called whatever you like. And then you would assign a back office or principal title to it. That would be the sales leader that's responsible for that region. Within regions, we have districts. And again, you can name them whatever you like. And those districts belong to a region. And then you would assign a market manager to that district. Really important, a market manager can only be assigned to one district. And then you group your stores within those districts. So again, stores roll into districts, districts roll into regions. So just another view of that. So stores are within districts, which have market managers. Districts are within regions, which have a back office or principal title. So Levi asked the question, can we specify the dealer store name? So you'll see when you get your store list, Levi, that we've already pre-named your stores based off typically their cross streets, and they're assigned a store number and a store name. So we will provide those too. You can name your districts whatever you like, but unfortunately the store names have been predetermined by our store development team. So to create your hierarchy by the end of this week, Rachel or I are going to send you your store list on the hierarchy change form. We're going to ask you to create regions and districts and to assign those leaders accordingly. And I've provided to you here an example of what a hierarchy looks like. Let's see if anybody can pick up on our theme. But essentially what we've done is we've taken our stores, we've broken them out into regions and accompanying districts. Ideally, we'd like these sheets back no later than July 17th. That'll give us some time to review them, make any changes, answer any questions so that we can be ready to go in time for day one. And then lastly, I want to just talk about multi-factor authentication. That's an MFA process that I've mentioned a couple times. MFA is what allows you to access resources off the network, like Power BI or your T-Mobile email. It's how you get your T-Mobile email on a mobile device. In order to do that process, you have to complete MFA. This process must be started on the network, either in Citrix or on a remote, in order to access resources off the network. So there's a PDF here attached, but essentially you would go to this website and provide an authentication method. Typically, people choose the mobile app, and it's just the way that when you go to some of these sites, it verifies that you are who you say you are. And again, this process must be completed in order to access your T-Mobile email on a mobile device, as well as to access Power BI. Okay, let's take a look and see what kind of questions we have. Robbie asks, are you including IDs with employees assigned to regions or districts? How do you handle employees with the same name? So when we credential our employees, they're given a unique identifier, a unique NTID. So for example, we may have John Smith 468 because he's the 468th John Smith that we've hired. So we have a way of identifying them. If you think you have someone with a common name, please feel free to call that out, but we can tell from your organization who within that organization has that name. We do provide them with C numbers. If you know that, by all means, feel free to provide it. Most people don't always know their employees' C numbers. So we don't want to drive you too crazy, but that's how we identify them, is by their contract number or C number. Everybody wants to rename their stores, so no. Will requests for access to SQL, Tableau, Adobe Teradata be honored? Levi, would you mind taking yourself off mute and just clarifying that question for me? Looks like he's off mute. Levi, are you there? Might be doubly muted on your phone. His mic is bad. Okay, Levi, if you want to just send me that question directly, I'll throw my email in the chat and you can reach out to me directly. That I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, but I'll definitely go ahead and get you an answer for you. You should be able to unmute right in the app on the bottom of the WebEx. If you hover over the bottom, there'll be some icons that pop up. One of them is a little microphone. You should be able to unmute on your actual phone. I will say that we do have a secondary POS data feed that some of our dealers use to feed into some other applications instead of having to use VivaTrack or RQ4. It's really up to you if you want to use that. So that is available to you. Okay. Levi, I think I answered your override process question. Don't see any other questions that I missed. Feel free to throw anything else in chat or come off mute if you have any other questions.
Brenda, my name is Sahil. I'm from Mobile City.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, Brenda. So I had a question, like same as Levi asked, like whether the BI is going to honor the SQL thing, like for creating any customized report, right?
Like, can you have a direct data feed to it?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
No, not direct data feed. Like in the sense, the data, the cubes of the data are there. It's just while making a customized report, can we use SQL or is it just the pivots?
I believe it's just the pivots. I'll defer to Andrew on that question, but I believe it's just the pivot tables.
Just pivot tables, no SQL, no tables, nothing like that, right?
I don't believe so, but I'll defer to Andrew. He'd be our expert on that.
Yeah, we definitely don't grant direct access to our SQL server. I think there are ways to use the Analyze and Excel cubes and analysis services and pull it into your own SQL server via analysis services connection. But I can't speak to how you do that. We haven't disabled that. So, I mean, by all means, if you know how to do it, you should be able to.
So the feature is that it's not disabled, right?
Correct, but we're not going to grant direct logins to our SQL server. But yeah, if you want to use analysis services to pull the data into SQL Server, you should be able to do that.
Got it. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for the answer.
No problem.
So Chris asks, after day one, is there a specific POC at the TPR who maintains the reporting hierarchy? That's really up to you. Typically what we find with our existing master dealers is, yeah, there is typically one person who handles that. But really that's up to you who handles that. And then we would just ask that you send those changes to our team, US TPR Client Services, or if you know who your Client Services Manager is directly, and then we would go ahead and process them and get them submitted over to the hierarchy team. But you can have we recommend actually having more than one person to do anything in case someone goes out on leave, but we don't, it's not like provisioning where you have to be granted the ability to submit those changes, Christy, if that's what you're asking. Generally speaking, we'll take requests from folks with back office titles or director or principal titles. If we're not sure if the request that you're asking is authorized, we'll generally go back through your account manager and just confirm that the person asking is okay to be asking. You're welcome. What other questions do you have? Veronica asked, can stores see their sales? Absolutely. A store manager and assistant store manager can see their individual store location results. We don't provide goals, though, in our reporting, and that's by design because ultimately you own and operate these locations, and we want you to provide those sales goals, but we will provide their month-to-date performance, and then they can compare it to the goals that you've set for them. Sant asks, daily visibility would be, I believe, in DCS. That's not something that's part of Power BI. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. So now the work is all on you. So as I said, by the end of this week, be on the lookout for an email forwarded from your account manager that will have your store list and the ask to create your dealer hierarchy. The sooner you get it back to us, the sooner we can check it and process it, get it loaded in, ideally by July 24th, so that we're all ready to go for day one. We'll be able to access BI before August 1st. I don't think so, and even if you did, nothing goes live for you all until after day one. Is sales information broken down at rate plan level? I don't know if we have MRC-based reporting. Andrew, do you know offhand?
Yeah, that's not something we typically look at from just reporting. That's more just on like sort of a raw data sort of thing that our team doesn't provide.
Yeah, it might be available in the DCS interface, but it's not in Power BI. And no, we do not have hourly counts in Power BI. As I said, typically data in Power BI is about 2 to 3 days behind because again, it's meant to be used for coaching and development purposes to see the results. It's not real time.
We do have an intraday piece of sort that should be coming with dealer sort. So there may be a solution for that coming.
So Robbie asked, does the raw data include transaction level data with employee C numbers? That's a DCS question. That would be for our commissions people. I can certainly ask them. I don't think we provide it with the C numbers though. I want to say it's down to the dealer code level, and you'd have to kind of crash those two things together. And the same question about DCS access would probably also be day one, but I'll reach out to our commission folks and get that answer for you. And then Sahil asked about, I assume you're asking what the lag time is for reporting. Again, the actual DCS user interface is about 1 day. Reporting that's based off DCS is about 2 days. And operational based reporting is about 3 days. Yes, there is. Jason asks, is there any reporting on device returns to ensure all devices that are shipped back are received and credited? That's actually managed through our inventory team through something called TMO Console. That you'd be able to track that more effectively. You're welcome. Okay, great. So if there's no other questions, again, be on the lookout. How can we request DCS access? That is done through your account manager. And we will work with them on getting that done for you. You're welcome. So we do have another call tomorrow for folks that weren't able to attend today. After that, we'll go ahead and get this deck out and the MFA instructions out and get you the answers and any questions that we weren't able to answer today, specifically with regard to DCS, because those are commission team questions. Okay, last call for questions. All right, awesome. I'll give you guys 27 minutes back in your day. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your attention. Some great questions.